The Bears have their coordinators. We got more info today. Super Bowl matchup is set. Huge CHGO Bears podcast starting right now.
Monday lunchtime to you. This is the CHGO Bears Podcast on a busy weekend for the Bears. Adam Hoge, yours truly, Mark Carman. Gregory P. Allen Braggs is with us in spirit. He is a little under the weather today, but he's getting better quickly. We hope Braggs will return tomorrow or later in the week as he downs his Dr. Pepper Zero to try to get better as fast as possible. We love you, Gregory. We miss you.
I mean, we did an emergency pod with him, 15 hours ago? What happened?
Yeah, I'm not going to speculate that his party for the NFC and AFC championship game got a little too heavy, and that's why he's not here. That doesn't seem fair to do. But, some of us.
You would never do that.
I would never do that. Not at all. All right. Zac Stevens from Denver, DNVR, our teammate's going to come on in about 14 minutes to discuss the Declan Doyle part of the Bears cycle here. We, of course, if you missed last night, we did a impromptu 45-minute Sunday night for you, so thank you for those who checked it out. But we've had a little bit more time to dive into this. And, Hoge, how are you feeling about the way business has landed? How are you feeling about – why don't we start with Dennis Allen and the way the Bears defense hopefully can come together here as Ben Johnson forms a staff. I think it's just a super interesting – way that the Bears are going about this, the way Ben's going about this, betting on himself and betting on some established guys. At the top of that, of course, is Dennis.
Yeah, I mean, and again, we're going to have Zac Stevens come on here in a little bit to give more information. I know everybody's wondering who Declan Doyle is. We are too, to some extent. So we're going to have that covered in the next segment. So, but yeah, I mean, I think when you look at what they're putting together defensively, you got to like it. I mean, the Bears have a lot of talent on their defense. They're not all the way there yet. But this was a situation where, look, if the best defensive coordinator available wanted to run a 3-4, I probably still would have done that. I probably, if Vic Fangio could have come back to Chicago, I would have said yes. Okay, well, let's deal with the fact that Montez Sweat might not be the perfect fit. That's okay. I wouldn't have crossed out good coaches just because of the scheme. Dennis Allen kind of threads the needle in that he checks a ton of boxes. He's experienced. He's had success as a coordinator in this league. He's also been a head coach in this league twice, which can help Ben Johnson. And then on top of that, I view it more of a bonus, but he's a 4-3 guy. And so schematically, the personnel you have here, and a lot of it's pretty good, fits. And I think he's going to be able to utilize some of that talent in more creative ways than the last coaching staff did as well.
Well, it's super interesting, right, as far as what does Dennis Allen think of Gervon Dexter Sr.? Does he see anything in Zach Pickens, who was not playing at the end of the year? How does he look at what's going on with the linebackers? The Bears paid Tremaine Edmonds a ton of money. They'd love to get more out of him. How does he view making Edmonds more of a downhill linebacker if possible, but more than sort of the read and react guy he's basically been his entire career? And what's also interesting to me when you look at his Saints history, he worked with Declan Doyle. They were on the same staff. So Ben Johnson doesn't necessarily have familiarity with working with these guys, but those two do. And that's your offensive coordinator. That's your defensive coordinator. One very seasoned and was a head coach. The other 28 years old. I kind of, as you try to imagine some synergy coming together and guys working together and working long hours, I sort of like that little corner of the Dennis Allen hire, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, look, if I'm being fully honest, my biggest concern with the coordinator hires, and I wrote this in a little blurb in Pat Norton's newsletter that came out this morning.
Pat Norton's a god. I love Pat Norton.
It was a great newsletter. There was a lot covered in there, including the Cubs news and the Hawks news over the weekend because there were some trades. It was a busy weekend here in Chicago. But yeah, I am not loving the fact that Ben Johnson has not worked with any of the three coordinators before. I think that's incredibly important to know that when you're in the trenches, I mean the coaching trenches, right? In the day-to-day grind.
Right.
And you're having tough conversations, you're arguing over how this needs to be handled or this needs to be handled. It doesn't mean that it's not going to go well. That's not what I'm saying. But having familiarity, having been through it before, knowing how guys operate, and I think the word I'm really looking for right here is trust. Trust is so important. To be able to trust these guys, you know that you've been through it before with them, you know you can trust them. That's huge. Whereas this is more of a leap of faith that it's going to work out. You're using your recommendations from Dan Campbell and his connection to Sean Payton and these guys knowing them and saying, yeah, no, this will work. And it might. I hope it does. But there's a little bit of a leap of faith in there with this. Now, on the plus side, like I just talked about, I think Dennis Allen's experience is great. I think that checks a lot of boxes. It's what you want. I think it's a good fit for the Bears defense. And along the lines of what I'm talking about here, the fact that Richard Hightower has been here the last 3 years as the special teams coordinator, he knows the personnel inside and out. He's worked with offense, defense, pretty much everybody on the roster, and he knows all the ins and outs of the things that went well and things that went terribly wrong. Will help Ben Johnson navigate some of this. So I am by no means trying to cause panic over the hires, but it is a little concerning. Even when you go to Al Harris, who I like that hire a lot, but hasn't worked with Ben Johnson before. It's starting to make sense, though, when you see the assistant head coach title attached to Antoine Randall, why that happened. I'm sure it had something to do with needing, having to give him that to come over for the job. But also, I think Antoine Randall is going to be in a crucial spot, sort of as Ben Johnson's right-hand man. The fact that he knows he can trust him, that they have worked very closely together. So I like that aspect of it, and it makes a lot of sense now that I see that the three coordinators have not worked with Ben before.
Plus, look, you're hiring a 28-year-old to be your OC. If I'm Antoine Randall, I'd like to be an offensive coordinator, but okay, you're giving me the associate head coach title. That lands okay with me. The Richard Hightower part of it too, when you think about staff chemistry, Richard Hightower is going to get along. Unless there's something going on behind the scenes that I'm completely unaware of, which is entirely possible. I don't know I'm not having dinner with these guys, and neither are you. But I mean, Richard Hightower some, and every time that guy talks, he is supporting his head coach. So I'm assuming that he's going to do the same. And it also makes me wonder, how much is Ryan Poles impacting the hires? Like, you would think, at least with Richard, he definitely went to Ben and said, hey, dude, this guy is, I don't know if you know Richard, but X, Y, and Z, this is why we like him. This is why we think that he should be a very strong candidate to be retained. And elsewhere, he's relying on Sean Payton. He's relying on Dan Campbell. That's a little tricky where, especially with Dan, you're going to be competing against each other. You got to be a hell of a good guy to be like, hey, man, this guy would be great for you, and I don't want to compete against him. Like, you have to trust that he would do that. And Dan Campbell seems like the type that he would, but it's also a little like, there's got to be a part of Dan Campbell that doesn't want to help his friend who's leaving to compete against him in the division.
Which is exactly why I brought this up during the process. I'm like, let's just not assume that hiring Ben Johnson means that you could just put together an all-star staff of all these guys that are just going to come over from Detroit. This is not how it works. These guys are too competitive. They're too competitive. So,
but being a good guy and giving the right recommendations, these things come back to you. You sleep better at night because you're a good person.
Well,
maybe.
Unfortunately, the city doesn't have the greatest track record with Sean Payton recommendations. Let's not forget he was very close to John Fox
Let's
And
forget that.
The last general manager came from New Orleans and was leaning on Sean Payton's recommendations, which to your point, yeah. This guy.
Yeah.
Take him. Draft Mitch Trubisky. He'll be just like Drew Brees.
Right. You should really, this Matt Eberflus is phenomenal. Not the same thing, but how did that come to be? Oh, yeah, well, and then at least we're sort of outside of the Trace Armstrong circle here for a second, or I think.
I don't know the whole client list, but
I mean, I'm not, no shade to Trace, but I think it's just time to make a pivot there. It's pivot time.
Well, I think that was established, yes, with the story that came out. That being said, Trace Armstrong represents a lot of good coaches. So
we just
you don't want to just be like, oh, sorry, we can't hire any of your clients.
Well, that's the other thing too. Okay, don't come in here and somehow let the building do to you what it's done to so many others.
Yeah.
Let's be right here. But so, I mean, what grade are you giving Ben to this point on how he's gone about it, and his actual? That's a little bit perhaps tough to do, but let's go Hoge Monday, 2 early grades. Where are we at?
Well, I want to be clear about this because I explained this on the emergency pod last night, sort of the way I've been awarding points, which I'm going to explain in greater detail in a story later this week, but that'll be on allchgo.com.
Become a diehard. You got about 8 hours left to get $48 for $4 a month for the year. Go ahead.
But because Declan Doyle doesn't check any of the 3 boxes, which is, have you worked with Ben Johnson before? Have you been an offense coordinator in the NFL before? And are you being retained? The overall, it comes out to 4 out of 10 possible points. I'm not saying I'm scoring it as 4 out of 10 because I don't think that gives enough context to the other hires on the staff, because I'm only grading the coordinators when I do that. And I really do like the Antoine Randall hire a lot. And I like the Al Harris hire a lot. I think those 2 coaches are going to have really good impacts on position groups that the Bears have right now with a lot of talent. The Bears have good wide receivers. They have good players in their secondary, and they need to get more out of them. And I think that both of those coaches have a great chance of doing that. And I like that Antoine Randall has worked with Ben Johnson and, is getting that associate head coach title. So if you want me to put a letter grade on this, B-.
Okay. I'm not pushing back.
Yeah.
I
think
why the minus and not just a straight up B? What's your minus there?
Well, I do have
it's the Doyle factor. Or are we going down the off the field Doyle factor?
No.
Which is probably fine, but maybe not.
No, it honestly has less to do with, I can't sit here and definitively say a 12-13 on Monday, January 27th, that I know enough about Declan Doyle to tell you whether or not he's a great OC hire or not. What I can do is, because I've been sitting here researching hires that have worked and haven't, the last 2 Bears head coaches hired offensive coordinators that they had never worked with before and had never been offensive OCs before. One was a play caller in Luke Getsy. One was not a play caller in Mark Helfrich, but neither one worked that well, right? And so just going off of the immense amount of research I've been doing the last few months leading up to this hire, he doesn't check the boxes, and he's 28 years old. So I think it's completely fair to be skeptical. And also, I don't think we're stressing this enough. He's the offensive coordinator for Caleb Williams. So, yes, does it matter as much as if this was a defensive head coach hiring an OC that's going to be in charge of the whole offense? No, it does not. He's still going to be working with Caleb Williams, and you cannot screw this up.
Intimately. They're going to be spending, according to the head coach, long hours together. You would think that Declan is going to be in that room. What am I? I think little tease for you. Zac Stevens, DNVR is coming up after this timeout. Shout out to the people that make this possible in a second. I think, Bears fans, you're going to feel, perhaps if you're skeptical of the hire, better about it after this moment in time. But, there's some good little background on Declan Doyle coming up. But first,
hey, whether it's pro or college, the app to bet football is Circa Sports Illinois. Circa Sports betting the way it should be. Circa Sports Illinois has high betting limits, low holds, and exceptional customer service. You can bet on all your favorite teams in every game this season. Spreads, props, futures, or in-game. Circa Sports has it. Fund and bet like a pro from anywhere, anytime in Illinois. Download your new bookie today at circasports.com. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Is there any better combination than Hooters and Chicago sports? Shout out to our friends at Hooters, who are just one of our newer partners. And to be honest, I'm just super excited that Hooters is on board. Why are they so special? We've experienced it here. Hooters comes in, they care about their people. They're just giving you the first-class service. They love their guests. They love the community. They love being a part of the team. And they love, by the way, charging you $9.99 for their chicken tenders and fries, or chicken tender tacos and fries. They also love their new mango habanero wing sauce, straight delicious. Don't forget, $6 legendary margaritas at Hooters all day, every day. $6. Where can you get a margarita for $6 nowadays? Nowhere except for at Hooters. They're also your playoff headquarters. Go watch the Super Bowl at Hooters. Why not? Hot wings, cold beer, your favorite cheerleaders, the Hooters girls. By the way, 9 out of 10 Hooters girls, they agree that eating Hooters wings while watching the game, that helps your team win. That's a proven fact. So do it. Order online, pick up or delivery. Check them out, originalhooters.com, or any of their 11 Chicagoland locations, including the one in Chicago on Wells Street. Should we learn more from Zac Stevens?
Yeah, real quick, though, because we should have done it right off the top. Available this morning, Fran Duffy's draft database. And if you have been following the last couple of years, our Bears 100, and we appreciate all the very kind things and feedback we've gotten on that, this is that on steroids. Fran Duffy is ALLCITY's draft analyst. This is what he does. He spends the football season scouting. He's our Dane Brugler, to put it that way. And his database, what he's going to be continuing to add to, update, change. He's at the Senior Bowl right now. He was at the East-West Shrine Game practices over the weekend in Frisco, Texas. It is all available to you right now if you are a diehard. So become a CHGO diehard. I promise you, this alone is worth the price. And on top of that, we extended the diehard deal.
11 hours and 43 minutes left.
And what's the price right now? Is it
$48?
$48 for the whole year. This alone is worth $48. And on top of that, you're getting 20% off merch and events the whole year.
T-shirt in the door.
My newsletter, you get a T-shirt automatically. So, but even if you didn't get all that, I'm telling you, if you love the NFL draft, this is worth it alone. Go check it out. It's shout out to Kevin Kaduk too, because he and Fran really took what we did with the Bears 100 the last couple of years to a totally different level. It's intuitive. You can click on it. Nobody else is giving you this. Like, Dane has an amazing draft guide that comes out in April that I will also tell you to purchase. But you don't get his behind-the-scenes work from January through April.
Fran Duffy, Fran God.
So this is, I'm telling you, this is awesome. I've been
fantastic.
I've had inside VIP access myself for the last week
phenomenal.
and a half, and it's blowing me away. I'm not just trying to sell you this because I work for the company. It's awesome. So anyway, should have mentioned that off the top. I mentioned it now. Carm talked to Zac Stevens while I was doing All NFL, which, in case you missed, you can go back and listen to. We talked all about the games yesterday and the coaching carousel and all that type of stuff from a NFL standpoint. Please subscribe to All NFL and the All NFL podcast as well. But while I was doing that with Bo Brack, you were talking to Zac Stevens, getting the inside scoop on Declan Doyle, and here's that conversation.
Who the hell is Declan Doyle? We're going out to Denver to find out. 28 years old. Zac Stevens is older than Declan Doyle, I'm assuming. I'm not exactly sure of that. Maybe he's just a professional-looking young man. But, hey, Zac, thanks for taking time here from DNVR. What can you tell Bears fans about this hire? Because it did sort of Not even sort of. It came out of nowhere, kind of. 28 years old, and here he is, the Bears offensive coordinator.
Carm, he's on the Broncos staff and has been for 2 years. And for Broncos fans, this came out of nowhere. So I can't even imagine from another market how far this came out of left field. And, teachers tell you don't look at Wikipedia. You have to have other sources and stuff. But Wikipedia, we all know, is a fantastic source. It has everything, everyone on there. Except for Declan Doyle 2 days ago. Declan Doyle did not have a Wikipedia page. So just to put into perspective how far out of left field this was, but who Declan Doyle is. He's 28 years old, and you're right, Carm. I'm older than him. So thanks, Declan, for making me feel old right now. But he is the best way that I can sell him to you guys is he is the ultimate Sean Payton guy. Sean Payton loves Declan Doyle. You said it. He's 28 years old. He's been a tight ends coach in the NFL for 2 years, but before he was with the Broncos, he spent 4 years with the New Orleans Saints. Sean Payton noticed this kid when he was 22 years old, just as a student assistant coach at University of Iowa, and he brought him over from there, hired him at just 22 years old to be an offensive assistant, and he loved him so much that when he made the move to Denver, he hired him to be the tight ends coach. And you don't want to dig too deep into what the Broncos tight ends have done over the past 2 years. This is pretty much a hire of taking Sean Payton's word that this guy is a future star. And I'll tell you what, inside the Broncos building, that is how they view Declan Doyle, a future rising star in the NFL.
So at 22, for the record, I was at the University of Iowa, but I was terrified to graduate because I had no plan for my life versus Declan Doyle, who was on the fast track to being an offensive coordinator at 28. That's crazy. But when you get to the Iowa part, everyone's like, oh, was he the son of Chris Doyle, who was fired from the university because of racist allegations by the players and left, in an ugly way, and then Urban Meyer tried to hire him in Jacksonville. The guy had to resign. So this is his dad. Was this a talking point ever in Denver about his family history? Because it's become one here in Chicago when you make this level of a hire.
Yeah, and that's very fair. And you talk about that level of a higher offensive coordinator, everything should be investigated there. When it's a tight ends coach that is so far down the chain for the Broncos, it actually was not a talking point. But obviously, that's how he got his foot in the door, you would imagine, at the University of Iowa. But what I'd feel more comfortable with for you guys is Sean Payton doesn't have that connection at all with his dad that I've been able to find. So I don't think this is related to that at all. I think it shows that, man, he grew up around football, and clearly he's a genius. And what I'll tell you is everyone in the Broncos building, when they just talk about Declan and not the family, they love him. So not only a football genius, but he is loved by his players. He is loved by the coaches and just has all the respect in the world from all of the coaches. And look, he's in an offensive room that is just stacked with older guys on the staff, guys with 25, 30 years of experience, and he has earned their trust and their appreciation. So I have to imagine that this hire came with a lot of support from the Broncos staff, giving him an opportunity because, Carm, he was not going to ever get an opportunity to move up on the Broncos staff. Not only do you have Sean Payton calling plays and essentially being the offensive coordinator, the Broncos have Joe Lombardi, who's Sean Payton's best friend, who's been in the NFL for 20 years, who's worked with Sean for over a decade. That's the offensive coordinator. Then you also have two kind of senior assistant staff members who have been with Sean for over a decade as well. You got a pass game coordinator with Johnny Morton, who's been with Sean for over a decade, been in the NFL for 25 years, so he's very experienced. And then you also have Pete Carmichael, who's been Sean's right-hand man for over a decade as well. Those three guys, Declan Doyle was never going to jump those guys in the Broncos building. So they realized that this kid is special, is talented, and he was never going to move up in the Broncos organization. So that's why the Broncos wanted to give him another opportunity and really put their support behind him, is because they saw a guy that they didn't want to hold back, and he was going nowhere with the Broncos.
And I guess, in a perfect world for the Bears, in 3-4 years after Ben Johnson and Declan Doyle and company get the Bears to a level that the Bears fans have never seen before in the office, then he can go on and be a head coach, the youngest in the NFL at 32. And this is going to be a hard one for you to answer, Zach, but what I wonder about is when you have somebody that young that you throw into a staff and there's older guys who think they should be an OC, and here's this young guy, like how is he going to sort of navigate through that and not be the guy on the staff that everyone looks at like he did that wrong, he did this wrong, I could do better. Any sense on how like he was able to become as beloved as he was within the Broncos community?
So, Carm, I do actually have one good piece of information for that for you. When I did digging this weekend to just find out how he was truly viewed, the one thing that just kept coming up was he's mature beyond his years. And, I mean, you have to be being an offensive coordinator at 28 years old, especially when your head coach is a first-time head coach. I mean, I think you guys would have expected, everyone in Chicago would have expected the Bears to go after a very experienced offensive coordinator, someone that can just kind of lead the offensive group while Ben Johnson calls plays. But that's clearly not what Declan Doyle is. So you're just going to have to rely on his maturity, and mature beyond his years is the phrase that I was told multiple times inside the Broncos building. But just to look at it realistically, this is a guy that has not had a lot of responsibility on the Broncos staff. Yes, he's been involved in game planning, but I just mentioned it. There's literally 4 guys at minimum that are above him, from Sean Payton, offensive coordinator, and those 2 offensive assistants that I mentioned that are doing more work and that are more responsible. So Declan has never been in a big leadership position right now, which is a tough sell. So I can understand how this hire for the Bears is being brought on. But I guess what you just have to trust is this is a guy that comes with a very, very strong recommendation from Sean Payton, and everything about him, from being a football mind to also a person, is only positive out here in his 2 years in Denver.
All right, Zach, as you go here, just a reminder, we're saving this tape. Do you think the Bears made the right hire here with Declan Doyle, that it'll be looked upon in 3 years as that was an amazing call by Ben Johnson, taking a swing on a 28-year-old?
Well, you either got the next Sean McVay, who's going to be a head coach at 31 years old, and it's going to look incredible, and Ben Johnson's going to look great, or you're going to look at someone and say, everyone saw that was just a crazy hire right away. I'm going to be positive. Let's go. Yeah, he's the next Sean McVay, and you guys got your guy. Hey, if Ben Johnson can't call plays for whatever reason, you might as well just give him a shot, because that's what the Bears are doing. It seems like they are just taking a swing on someone who's very talented here. And Carm, before I'm out, Bears fans do not look at the Broncos tight ends these past couple of years, because they've been the worst in the NFL. And on top of that, he hasn't been given any talent. I'll say that. But the Broncos tight ends, I mean, the Bears aren't hiring Declan Doyle because of Adam Troutman's career high 3 touchdowns that he had this past season.
No, but maybe aside of Bo Nix, perhaps he had a little bit of an impact there. How about that? We'll lean that way. Don't look at the tight ends. Look at the rookie quarterback.
There you go. Yep, he helped. The tight ends coach helped develop Bo Nix to who he is right now. I love that, Carmen. And expect Caleb Williams to be Bo Nix next year.
Exactly. Well, hey, we dare to dream. Let's go, Caleb to Bo. That's the plan. Hey, Zach, appreciate you making time.
Of course. We'll see you next week at the Super Bowl.
We'll see you at the Super Bowl. So there you have it.
That's never a place I thought we'd be, by the way, here. Let's hope Caleb Williams is Bo Nix next year.
That was a little bit.
Oh, God.
Well, Bo Nix cakes. Shout out Bo Nix.
I know, but I'm just saying that wasn't how this was supposed to be in April.
I know. Shout out Eric Kramer, who predicted Bo Nix would be great, and shout out to, or non-shout out to, everybody in the chat who just hated on Eric Kramer when he said that. But the McVay part of this,
that includes me.
I know. McVay was 24 when Washington hired him to be an offensive assistant. He was 25 when he became the tight ends coach there. Okay. He was 28 when he became their OC, and then
he was calling plays there though too.
So
let me give you a quick positive spin on this, because I think it's important to remember what the job actually is. He's not calling plays. Okay. Ben Johnson told us he needed a grinder, somebody who's going to stay up late, somebody that's going to be, fully invested.
Yeah.
Rising. I mean,
you owe me.
Like,
do everything I say.
So there's a lot of areas where that profile and hiring like a young, rising, somebody who's obviously ambitious and is going to put in the work. Like, I don't think there's any question about that. Is good. Also, the tight end thing doesn't concern me because he's not going to be the tight ends coach. So if he was having issues coaching tight ends, or the tight ends sucked under his watch,
he needs to be great at everything.
Okay, but that's fine. But he's not going to be hands-on coaching the tight end. So if there was a problem there, which I'm not even saying there is, I think it had more to do with the talent at tight end for that team.
That's what I'm leaning on.
I just don't find that to be a terrible concern. I do wonder about him standing in front of the room, because even if he is, even as OC not calling plays, he is going to have responsibilities where whatever, on Wednesday, he's going to be part of the install and right there with Ben Johnson doing that. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm not trying to say that this is going to be a disastrous hire. I also think it's completely fair to bring up questions about it.
Are you worried that when he goes to do that first meeting, the Bears locker room is going to be looking at him saying, "Who's this pipsqueak?" You worried he's going to get pipsqueaked? I think you might be worried about a pipsqueak.
Like our comments just did with Zach?
Yes. I think you might.
You guys are not nice, but also kind of funny.
And Declan Doyle is no pipsqueak. He's Declan Doyle. He's going to dominate. The D stands for domination. Declan. We will talk briefly about the Iowa part of his history coming back here. But first, shout out to our friends at Game Time, which has got a new feature called Game Time Picks, which makes it easier to get tickets than ever before. They filter out the fluff. They show you the best deals. They get you excited. I mean, if you want to go see the Bulls in Denver, shout out DNVR one more time tonight at the United Center. I'm sure Game Time will say, buy these. Best value. Look at the view. This is sweet. Do it. They basically do the thinking for you. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code CHGO. You get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create that account. Use the redeem code $20 for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.
And for the best way to start 2025, you want to do what I am going to do on Thursday, and that's head to Ray Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Shop to start something new, sales event to score some of the new year's best savings on new vehicles. You can hurry in today and browse their huge inventory of new vehicles. And right now, get 0% financing on all new 2024 Jeep models. Or you can shop over 125 vehicles priced under $20,000. Let the amazing team at Ray CDJR help you during each step of your car shopping journey. And they have Ray's Price Promise. You've heard us talk about this before. That just means that the numbers that you're hearing right now, they're the same prices you can expect to shop in-store online. That's because with Ray's Price Promise, they never change the price on you. There's no add-ons. There's no hidden fees. They promise that to you. So if you're in the market for a new vehicle, check out the team at Ray Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, because they are the only team we recommend. Visit them today on Route 12 in Fox Lake. Again, right now, you can get 0% available on all new 2024 Jeep models, and they have 125 vehicles priced under $20,000. For more information, visit Ray CDJR in Fox Lake or raycdjr.com, serving the community since 1963.
All right. Let's
Can I just point out one quick thing here?
Yes.
This is not a knock on anybody. Isn't it amazing how quick we went from, we did this show last Monday about 2 hours before the Bears hired Ben Johnson. And at that point, and we were doing it too, everybody in this conversation, although I did say on that show that I did think the Bears would get it done. You made me make a prediction, and I did say they're going to pay up for Ben and they're going to get it done. But that being said, a lot of the coaching search was kind of assuming they're not going to get Mike Vrabel, kind of assuming that they wouldn't be lucky enough to land Ben Johnson, because that's just not what the Bears do, and trying to justify who else they might actually hire.
You were getting super excited about Mike McCarthy. You found a way.
And there was just so much negativity, and rightfully so, that the Bears were going to screw it up. And oh, how quickly we have turned around in a week to people being like, Declan Doyle! Don't. How dare you question this hire?
Listen, they know
I just love it. It's the passion of Bears fans. It's why we love you guys. It's why we love that you support our show, because all it takes is one good thing and everybody's on board.
Well, we needed this. Let's
100%. I'm not criticizing anybody, but it's just, Can we at least acknowledge that that's happening right now?
Listen, Bears fans, we love you. We so appreciate the support that we get on the show. But it is true. Sometimes it is like threading the toughest needle ever to be able to say something that is logical but not the most flowery thing about the Bears. And how do you do that exactly to not, really get Edward Elric on you? It's not easy to do, but that's why we love you, Edward.
And Tyler Day brings up a great question here in the comments. Hoge, who would you have hired? No one on the market satisfies your criteria. This was my concern I kept bringing up during the coaching search, that if you're going to hire Ben Johnson, I'm struggling to find the OC hire that would have fit my criteria, which, by the way, is not my criteria. It's the criteria I discovered through researching successful coaching hires and who they hired that led to good results. And I also pointed out in last night's show, there's always outliers. And there's two very significant outliers. So if you want to cling to hope that Declan Doyle is the next Sean McVay, Kevin O'Connell's staff was 4 out of 10 on my point scale. Kyle Shanahan's initial staff was 3 out of 10 on my point scale. So there are outliers. And this could be that outlier. I'm not trying to throw water on your Ben Johnson excitement. If you want to be all rah-rah, go Bears, Super Bowl, like Carman was last week.
Right here.
I'm right there with you. I love everything about this. I think the Bears made the right, awesome, best hire they could have with Ben Johnson. But I also had concerns about who the OC was. And I don't have an answer for you, Tyler. This was my concern. I don't know who the best guy. So maybe searching through the weeds and finding the next up-and-coming Sean McVay is exactly what's happened here. I hope that's the case. But all I'm pointing out is I love how quickly we went from the Bears can do nothing right to now we're right back to they can't do anything wrong.
Let me try to give you a hypothetical. And so right now I need you to erase your brain from everything you know about who the Bears have hired and any of the thoughts you just had. Okay, erasing. Hey, Adam, Ben Johnson is going to hire someone who's considered the hot young thing in the NFL to be his offensive coordinator. He's 28 years old, and he's beloved, and he's considered a genius by many who know him. How do you feel about that? That's part of the first hire on Johnson's staff is going to be this whiz kid, beloved young dude who some people think is the next Sean McVay. Are you on board, or would you rather him hire an established guy? What would you have said?
I would say...
Would you have dialed up your
I would
point
say
system?
that's a hell of a gamble when the future of Caleb Williams is hanging in the balance.
Uh-huh. So,
but I'm also on board. Like, look, the most important person in this whole Caleb Williams thing is who?
That'd be Ben.
That's Ben. So I'm not trying.
We get it. Whoever just put in this thing that he's not calling plays. We all get
it's
this.
not about the play calling. It's not about the play calling.
Listen, let's just picture it, Bears fans. Caleb's walking in there. It's meeting number one in the spring after whatever time they're taking off right now. They're sitting down. They've got their staff. The Super Bowl's done. We're starting to work on next year. This guy's walking in the room. He's 28 years old. It's a little bit of an interesting moment.
Yeah.
It just is. But the other side of it is like, I don't know, young people might trust that young people know more than old man River over here. Shout out myself and my gray hairs and everything else that's going on over here with my lack of recall. So, maybe, like, I don't know. Maybe this is super exciting to Caleb. Who knows how it's going to land?
Well, I want to hear more about it. Obviously, I want to hear what Ben Johnson has to say. I want to hear what Declan Doyle has to say, and hopefully these guys will be introduced. There was a comment from Otto there that said, like, one of the positives is that he says we're also less likely to lose him to a head coaching position.
I don't know about that. Not if
Otto,
it's great.
Otto, my man, if Caleb Williams takes off,
he's gonna be
Declan Doyle's gonna be the next up and coming Sean McVay head coaching prospect.
Right.
Even without the play calling.
Right. There'll be a.
Which might not be fair.
It'll be a double D party.
Because there is a world where maybe I am overstating his role in the development process. Because looking back on the Mark Helfrich couple years, I don't know what he was doing.
Yeah.
So it's a unique situation. I would, let me put it this way, Carm, and to make everybody feel better. If they had hired the Declan Doyle of defense to be the defensive coordinator, I'd be way more worried about that than I am this.
Agreed. Totally agreed. Established. Which is why
I'm okay with it.
Yeah. I've gotten myself on board. I do wonder about one elephant in the room that we haven't discussed is his dad, who was Chris Doyle, who was the Iowa strength coach, dating all the way back to 1999. Declan went to Iowa. His brother played on the football team. Chris Doyle was fired because a large group of former players spoke out about mistreatment in the program. Most of the allegations coming from black players focused on Doyle. He was the highest paid strength coach in the nation at the time, $800K he was getting. So Iowa paid him 15 months, 2 payments of $550,000 to walk away. And, all his son who was on the team announced he was going to transfer, all these things. And Iowa's statement was that, or Doyle's statement at the time was that his behavior never crossed the line of unethical behavior or bias based on race. Then his former players said he was disparaged, demeaned, and that Doyle disparaged, demeaned, and bullied them. All right. Declan Doyle's not his dad, but he's also raised in that household. So that's a real thing. And there's tons of people that were raised in households that maybe things weren't necessarily perfect. I don't want to speculate. This is what happened, where kids have more evolved thoughts than their parents. If this, if everything is actually real here, and just you assume the worst. Well, so all of that. But it is interesting to me that here we are, brand new staff, all this shine, and this is all it's a beautiful thing going on with the Bears right now. And you're presented this hire. 2, Kevin Warren is black, Ryan Poles is black. Not that it should matter, by the way. This should matter to anybody of any color. So it's just all of it. It's interesting, and it maybe speaks to, if you want to be positive about it, that Declan Doyle is that good that none of this matters because he's that good of a guy, and he's whatever's going on in his family is completely irrelevant because he's great at his job and he's great at connecting, and he's a highly evolved 28-year-old dude who's on his way to stardom in ways that Sean McVay was, something of that ilk.
Yeah, I mean, look, let me just state the obvious is that you should not be disqualified from being hired for a job because of your parents,
of course,
or anything involved, no matter what it is. So I understand why this is coming up, though. I don't think it's, and that's probably why it's coming up now 43 minutes into our show, because it's a sidebar. If you're, I was trying to think about this in journalistic terms. If I'm laying out the sports page in the newspaper, the obvious headlines, Bears got Dennis Allen, who is Declan Doyle, all the stuff we already started talking about. But somewhere there is a sidebar on the history here, and that connection. Some people might say that shouldn't even be discussed at all. I don't know if that's fair either, because this was actually people saying that probably aren't aware of how big of a story this actually was when it happened. It was a massive story in college football, and Urban Meyer tried to hire him. The Jaguars, and immediately was like,
he had to
"What
resign
are you doing?"
Right. Well, he did hire him, and he was going to hire him. He took his name out of it.
Yeah. So, it's a sidebar. But from what we've heard and from what Zac shared, and I mean, first of all, like I said off the top, it's not fair to hold him accountable for that.
100%.
And if his reputation in the league is much better, and it is relevant to bring up the people who work in the organization, that obviously had to be vetted before this hire is made.
Right. And I'm seeing people being sensitive about it. Look, it's part of the history of who he is, and he has moved up from the Saints to the Broncos, and he's here. So, if anything, if you want to, we can have discussion, relax, and B, if you want to be positive about it, like it could be a further feather in his cap of just how further along this dude is that he's been able to get to this point. Because there are people that would be like, I can't touch that guy. Well, people are touching all over this guy. From the Saints to Denver, now he's the offensive coordinator of the Bears at 28. So, listen, I'm going to hold that this is the best hire on the staff, that they hired a stud. Because otherwise, why would you do this? Like, I'm really – like, that is a big swing. Like, listen, man, I get it. He's 28. Maybe there might be some issues with guys might be a little bit nervous about who is this guy. I'm telling you, this is the guy. That's how I would – if I was Ben Johnson – if I was making that hire, that's how I would be looking at it. If I was iffy on him, I wouldn't do it. If I thought this guy is a stud who's going to make us better, then I'm going forward, despite his age and everything else.
Yeah. No, all we're doing here on this show today, I feel like, is having a very back and forth, pros and cons conversation about what is an interesting hire. There's not many 28-year-olds hired as coordinators in the NFL. Fact. He is the youngest offensive coordinator in the NFL. Fact.
I mean, I was begging for a job at the Cheesecake Factory. Now, granted, I was behind in my career.
Yeah. But so on one hand, there are, and it's an incredibly important hire because he's working with Caleb Williams. So I am sure Ben Johnson, who's everybody is excited about and is trusting, has a long list of reasons why this is his OC hire. In the history of covering the Chicago Bears, this of all the things we might point at 2 years down the road that may have gone wrong, this would be at the top of my list of if you were to say, what are we looking at that went wrong? I guess another way, easier way of saying this is this is the biggest boomer bust potential. Right?
Yeah. And Ben Johnson, I'm betting on you.
Yeah.
Right here. Betting on you. You got this right, I hope.
All right, let's change the conversation a little bit, though.
Yep.
Thomas Brown ended up with the Patriots. Passing game coordinator and tight ends coach.
Congratulations to Thomas Brown, first-class dude.
Um,
Would you rather had him than Declan Doyle? Are you going to ask that question? Because I'd love to ask you that question.
You can ask me that question.
Would you rather had Thomas Brown than Declan Doyle? Hoge.
Well, first caveat is I don't think that was going to happen. I don't know enough about if Thomas Brown would have wanted to stick around. Now, we do know now that Thomas Brown got a job where he's not calling plays, where he's not the offensive coordinator. So maybe an OC, title without calling plays would still have been a better job than what he's getting with the Patriots. I don't know. It seems like it was both ways that it just wasn't going to work, and I don't blame anybody for that side of it.
He knew he was out here on his last thing when he's addressing the players. Yeah. Wherever I go, I'm here for you, all of that.
In a hypothetical world where the Bears wanted Thomas Brown to stick around and Thomas Brown also, I think I would have gone that route.
Right.
With his knowledge and working relationship with Caleb and knowing what went wrong and what could still, work out with Caleb. Not to mention some of the accountability stuff and the way he addresses players, I think matches with what Ben Johnson's preaching, integrity and accountability.
I'd be nervous about it, though, for the record, not to cut you off, but if I'm Ben, you were here all year, you talked a lot about you could not figure out why you didn't start games any better. Am I rolling the dice on that when you had all season to figure out how to score early and get them going? And
but that wasn't.
I understand. Well, I mean, it's unfair. He was.
If you look at what Thomas Brown did the 3 weeks where he was the OC,
they got better. That's true.
Yeah.
And then you put too much on his plate. That's a fair way of looking at it.
So, I think it's an interesting hypothetical. It's definitely a hypothetical, though.
Multiple people, by the way, in the chat are asking if I slept over at your place last night. No, I did not sleep over. I respected the family and said I must.
You actually ran out of there as soon as that show was over.
Well, right. I was there with my girlfriend and her kids I knew it was 8 o'clock and I was in trouble. They were going to leave and I was going to have to Uber home and or have you take me. So I needed to get out of there.
To take you behind the scenes of what we do and some of the situations we end up in, I don't think there's ever been a podcast in the history of podcasts in which there were more mothers stressed out about the timing and about how it was Sunday night and children had to go to bed.
Yeah, no, it was a tough scene. And let me tell you, that 17-minute drive home, it wasn't great. It was a tough ride. I was hoping for a time sheet. Just get him home and get him into bed and let's everybody calm down.
In fact, I'm gonna read. I don't know if I've ever done this. I'm gonna read a text from my wife.
Finish the pod, get him out of here.
Live on it, because I did not see this until we were done. But I think it was sent with 15 minutes before we actually finished.
Whoops.
Just a reminder, some kids need to get home to bed. Don't go too long. I did get the kiss emoji, though, at the end.
There we go.
So she was, it was a good way to set the tone in a text message. But we all know what that means.
Yeah, no, it had to.
And I was slightly terrified I missed it.
But the most important thing is that Hoge did a phenomenal job with the chicken and the pasta salad and the tomatoes and the cheese and the whole thing. But I'm just gonna give myself I thought that Carm's performance with the ice cream cake might have been the MVP last night. That was so unbelievably well devoured. I was very proud of myself.
I'm glad you brought this up because this leads to something I did actually want to talk about. And we still got some more football.
Declan Doyle is an ice cream cake.
This is why I love you, because Carm texted me in the middle of the day, what can I bring? And I think you said
booze, chips, dessert.
Booze, chips, or dessert were the three options.
Yeah.
Solid options. I said dessert? ? Now, most people would go to the grocery store and overthink it. Like, this isn't a birthday party. This isn't, some major thing. It's just like, I'm bringing some brownies or cookies or something, right? Carm goes straight ice cream cake like it's a birthday party.
Yeah.
And I respect it.
Yeah.
Because why not just bring the best thing possible?
I mean,
some people would rule out ice cream cake because it's not a birthday. I'm not a rule out ice cream cake ever guy.
This was the AFC Championship game. It's Sunday night at the Hogs. I'm driving back, rolling right down, figuring out the best route to go. Why wouldn't I go down Dundee and drive by Dairy Queen and get the Oreo cookie thing? This is a 5-second in and out, done and done.
And it was phenomenal.
It was delicious.
Yeah. But I'm going to bring you to
shout out DQ.
This all comes full circle because it's interesting you bring up the food. So we got done with that emergency pod. I put my kids to bed, and however, I don't know how much time left. It was probably 9:30 by that point. By the time I finally came back down to earth, and I'm like, why am I hungry?
Oh yeah, I went home and went nuts.
Because
you didn't eat.
Here's the thing about the ice cream cake and then the emergency pod that immediately followed the ice cream cake. I never ate dinner.
Yeah, I didn't notice. That's a good point. I didn't see you eating. I kept on walking upstairs and eating more chicken.
Well, thankfully there was still some chicken left. So yeah, I had like a 9:45-ish dinner. It was a good time.
There's a reason why I need to be going to the Midtown Athletic Club more than I'm going right now, because I don't know what it is at the end of days right now. I need to nourish myself better. I'm not blaming you, Bears fans, for not nourishing me. This is on me. Yeah. Real fast, just news-wise today, Matt Eberflus is interviewing with the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, I'm glad we got to this.
Flus is touching down in Big D.
I wish we had a camera on Steven at all times. Because his reaction.
Double D and Big D. I mean, there's a lot of D's going on today. A lot of D.
Just stop.
Good luck to Flus in Dallas. DLLS is going to love him. You think he's getting that gig?
Yes, it sounds like it. Is that if the interview goes well, Matt Eberflus is going to be the defensive coordinator. I think it's a good hire for them. I think Matt Eberflus is a good defensive coordinator. I don't think he's a great defensive coordinator. I don't think he's Spagnuolo or Vic Fangio, but I think he's a good DC who's doing what he should be doing, and that's coaching defense. He fits the scheme there. He's coached in Dallas there. He was the linebackers coach there for like 8 seasons. It's a good fit. It's actually the perfect fit for him.
So, forgive my ignorance here. If he takes that job, do the Bears not owe him any money?
No, they still owe him the difference.
They owe him the difference.
Yeah. offset.
So he
for
was
the rest of the contract, which I believe is reportedly 2 years.
That's a big deal. I mean, really doesn't matter, I guess, at all to Bears fans or me or you. Because
why do you think Jerry's hiring him? Jerry's like, I don't have to pay this guy nothing.
Wait, hold on a second. So,
well, I'm sure there's some. I don't know all the rules. I'm sure there's some minimum that they will have to pay him, but he's still going to make what was left on his Bears contract. So if I don't know if they can legally do this, but Matt, we're going to hire you for $1 for the whole year.
Right, and the Bears have to pay the rest.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some minimum that you have to pay.
Which, by the way, Matt probably wants to make them pay for putting me through this.
Yeah,
I lost my beekeeper house,
and it's an interesting.
Flus as a beekeeper, that was his pinnacle, was it not? When he's walking around in his yard with his wife, and it just seems so peaceful.
I mean, that's when the whole, like, what do they call it? The why am I blank? Like the glowing of the image of him.
Yes.
You know, this whole concerted effort to, you got the fade going, the beard, and all this stuff. It jumped the shark when they went beekeeper. It's like, all right, I think we went a little bit too far on this.
I don't know. I was in.
You think he's out there every day tending to the bees?
I think
he did that one time, and that was for that hard knock shoot.
Who knows bees in this chat here? Does that happen? Do they rest in the wintertime, or are they still going after the honey? What do bees do in wintertime?
Do you see bees in here in January?
Yeah, but they have to live through the
wintertime.
wintertime.
I have seen bees in here in January.
I mean, are they?
Come to think of it.
I mean, they've got to be buried in the hive out there. I don't know.
I don't know.
I think. I mean, what has the Flus been doing since he was reflused?
JP said, "I'm sure he nicknamed all the bees."
He probably did. That's awesome. Kurt College knows they hibernate. Okay,
you're the Mako bee.
Yeah.
All right.
Wait. So hold on.
Do you know what? In all seriousness, I wish Flus the best down in Dallas. I think it's a great gig for him, and he could have sat out for a year and taken his money and enjoyed life.
Not his style.
Not his style. That man was made to coach ball, and also I think that would have been risky for him. You know, we see guys not come back to the league after you sit out for you're never guaranteed another opportunity. I'm not surprised he took this one. I think it's a good fit, and I'd want to go coach Micah Parsons.
I mean, some brilliant person speculated that he'd end up in Detroit, so I was hoping I would be right about that. But okay, fair enough. I'm not perfect.
Cowboys, Bears, Soldier Field,
right?
2025.
We'll see if Flus.
Matt Eberflus revenge game, and once again the Flus versus Ben Johnson matchup. Ben said it himself last week. That defense caused them some problems.
Led Floyd 13, 32.2% of managed colonies are lost over the winter. I'm going to believe that's true, and that's an incredible chat if it is. Guy knows about lost colonies. Do you understand the range of the people that listen to this show? You think that guy is? You think that guy's showing up anywhere else? No, only here. CHGO Bears.
That was also the Bears' third down percentage on 3rd and 17.
Hey, Hoge, before we depart, you wanted to, and by the way, as we're getting to the top of the hour, and we mentioned it earlier, thank you, A, for watching. B, we do have our Die Hard special going on for, call another 7 hours, $48 for the year. Our draft guy is incredible. You get a free t-shirt. You get discounts and everything. If you want to support the show, we greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate you. And we, of course, greatly appreciate the ones that have already done it. Plus our Discord lounge, where we were doing some live watch-alongs. Maybe we'll do something for the Super Bowl, although I'm already inviting some of the diehards over to my place for the Super Bowl, which everyone's cordially invited on the show, which, Hoge, you're not coming because you have a way better setup, and I live in a townhome with, I don't know, we got 3 chairs, but, somehow we're going to make it work. After you go to Hoge Match, it's like, can't invite Hoge over. He can't slum over here, but you are invited. Anyway,
I'm going to be watching the Super Bowl in the Atlantic Ocean.
That's an excellent choice. So thank you very much. And Zachary Hilborn. Pay money for Mark Carman draft grades. Crazy. You love my grades, Hilborn. That's also part of your diehard package. That's good.
You don't have to pay for Carms. You can pay for Fran's.
Yeah, and you're getting Fran. Don't worry about what I do, but it is an added bonus. So thank you. Become a diehard. Tom Brady. You wanted to talk about this. Is going to be on the call at the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
As Patrick Mahomes tries to chase him down as the GOAT.
So
and he's ahead of him, by the way, by a wide margin on where they were at in their careers at this point.
Yeah, but he's coming fast. I mean, he's
anybody ever going to beat Patrick Mahomes? Is
so
there anything more exhausting than the Chiefs?
Well, I just find this interesting because, again, we've talked about Tom Brady in his broadcast role and some of the weird conflicts involved. There's a lot of broadcast meetings and stuff that leads up to the Super Bowl that he cannot participate in because he is the part owner of the Raiders. I don't know if you guys know this, the Raiders are rivals with the Chiefs. So there's that angle to this too.
You can't be professional, Tom. We know it.
Where I really wanted to go with this is less about that though than the fact that Mahomes is very quickly chasing down Tom Brady's legacy. And you're right. He has a long ways to go. If Mahomes wins the Super Bowl in 2 weeks, that'll be number 4. Brady won 7. But he's also 29 years old.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of time left in his career. He's also got a chance to do something Brady never did, which was win 3 in a row.
Yeah.
And it's quite I saw Danny Parkins made this point this morning.
Parko.
Do you know the earliest that Patrick Mahomes' season has ended?
That'd be the conference finals.
Overtime of the conference finals.
Yeah.
That's insane.
He has the second most wins in the history of the NFL in the playoffs. 17. Yeah. He's not 30. The second most all time. Who's number 1? Brady, 35. He's got to do this again.
Yeah.
To pass him. But by the way, Josh Allen's a really good player. The Bills needed some weapons, but that's a good football team.
Yeah.
They absolutely, in the 4 losses to the Chiefs, they could have won arguably at least 3 of those games.
Yeah.
And he's won them all.
So obviously, look, doing what we do for a living, I'm a little bit nerdy about the broadcasts and care about what's being said, how it's being presented, and all this stuff. We probably pay attention more to that than the average American or whoever that tunes into the Super Bowl, because obviously it's watched all over the world. I am fascinated by this dynamic with Tom Brady calling the Super Bowl, because we all know Tom Brady's a competitive dude, right? Just like all the GOATs are. Could you imagine Michael Jordan on the call during a LeBron James NBA Final Series?
I wouldn't have missed that shot. I would have taken that shot.
I mean,
I'm not sure what he's looking at there.
I'm sure Tom Brady's going to be a total professional. It's going to be fine. But not only do you have the legacy aspect of this, but he's also actually currently battling against Mahomes in the AFC West as rivals.
Yeah.
It's weird and cool. And I think it's an added layer to what should be an awesome Super Bowl, and I can't wait.
The more uncomfortable conversations that people need to have in life, I'm here for, and that is him. If let's just say hypothetically, the Chiefs just roll the Eagles, and he's putting up 40, or even the other way. Let's say it's a tight game. Chiefs are down 2. Fourth quarter, or even better, 6. They need a touchdown, and he leads them down the field with 1:38 to go to win it. Would Brady go as far as to say, I got to be honest, they just won 3 in a row? What is it, 5 out of 7 then? Is that right?
What, the Chiefs?
Yeah.
4 out of 5.
4 out of 5, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. Leads them down. They just 3-peated. He just did that. He just threw for 320. I got to be honest. Forget the debate. He's better than me.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, who would you take? You can have one of them for their career.
Oh, I mean, it's Brady.
Is it? I don't know.
Wait. Rephrase the question. What are you asking me?
I'm asking you. Who would you rather have as your quarterback, Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady?
In their prime?
Sure, one season.
This is a weird question.
Is it?
Either one is great. I'm going to go with the one that did win 7 Super Bowls, though.
Steven, Brady or Mahomes?
Mahomes.
Wait, are you asking me if I'm a GM scouting both of these quarterbacks, who am I drafting?
Sure.
That's
let's go
Mahomes 10 out of 10. That's
One
why
game.
that's why Brady fell to where he fell in the draft.
All right, one game. One game. Super Bowl. In their prime, who are you taking?
Jesus.
I mean,
I guess Brady already lost to the Eagles in the Super Bowl. He lost to Nick Foles.
I mean, this guy, more creative, makes ridiculous throws. Tom's gonna play better on schedule. Tom's not gonna wilt ever. But
You're fueling my point, though. You know this.
I'm not trying to.
Because you started this whole thing by like Mahomes has a long way to go, and now you're ending it with I would rather have Mahomes.
He has a long way to go, numbers wise, to
Yeah.
pass it. But like, see, this is where, since you brought up Jordan, you see this. Now it gives me an opportunity to get out my point.
Damn it,
So
we were almost there. We were almost out of it. I was about to go to Supers.
Just for those of us who were 11 in 1984 when Mike came into the league, if Jordan had blown out his knee in 1990 after Game 7 and losing to the Detroit Pistons for the 3rd time, I would be sitting here today telling you the greatest player that ever played was Michael Jeffrey Jordan, because I knew what was coming if somebody ever got good enough to play. He needed one All-Star, and Pippen got there, and they won. But see, people don't look at it like that. They look at how many championships did you win, and I get that's part of the equation. But at his peak, like his most athletic peak, that was before they even started winning. The guy was the greatest. So, like, Mahomes right now, before 30, this guy's ridiculous. And, like, he's assuming he stays healthy, he's going to pass him. So I would take Patrick because he's just next level.
A lot of people fairly bringing up that Brady beat Mahomes in the playoffs and in the Super Bowl.
And he was old on a new team. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's hey, okay.
And Tony points out that you'd rather have Bajent.
We'll just see how this year goes, my friend. Just
Don't do that.
We're not gonna do that, but we'll just see what happens this year. I hope we don't see Tyson, but if we do, I'll remind you of that chat on January the 27th. By the way, anybody who's doing dry January, shout out to you. It has not been easy. I know it hasn't, and you are just fired up for Saturday.
Carm's going nuts on Saturday.
Oh,
yeah.
We got Cats, Wisconsin at 1, and it's straight to the tavern. For
Myers?
Straight to a Myers. There's a Loyola basketball game at 5:30 in between Cheeseburger, Myers, one whiskey, one. I mean, you can't beat
Just
that.
remember, you're
double dip.
flying to New Orleans on Sunday.
7:30 in the morning, buddy.
Yikes.
Or 8:30, whatever it is.
Who
Although
schedule that?
I don't know, I might reschedule. Steven and Greg are going to be on the flight.
At Midway. So much better.
If you live in the South.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would go to Midway every single time. It's nowhere near my house, though, so I put up with crappy O'Hare, the worst airport.
Before we get to Supers, guys, I want to mention we're just 327 Twitter followers away from 50K. So we're approaching that, and we've already had 34 diehards sign up today.
Nice.
Just today.
And a reminder on tomorrow's show, we're going to have full graphs because I'm going to work all afternoon today. Full whatever you want to call it.
Graphs?
Not a graph. What do we call what we do? What are those things?
Full screens?
Full
Graphics?
Screen. Graphics. Of just who these guys are. We're gonna line it up. I want histories and information and all the things that you come to CHGO Bears sort of for. Kind of.
Okay, great.
Can we do that
What
tomorrow?
a tease. Don't miss tomorrow's show.
And Wednesday, can I
New segment, Carm's Graphs.
Can I tease Wednesday? Am I allowed to tease Wednesday? Big guest coming in studio? Or would you like to hold that?
Oh, no, you can mention that.
Yeah. Dan McNeil, Wednesday.
Yeah.
Damn it. Right here on this set.
Yeah.
Hopefully Greg Braggs will be back for that show. because he's a big Danny Mac guy. But either way, Mac will be here on Wednesday. So looking forward for that. Oh, you want to do the supers?
Yeah, let's get Bear Down Omaha, $2. I love CHGO more than Kevin Warren loves cranes.
We love you, Bear Down
That's the
Omaha.
nicest thing anyone's ever said to
It
us.
really
Thank
is
you
very
so
nice.
much. Royal Keeper, €5. Being young helps for those long nights in the office.
You're right, Royal Keeper. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. Unless you have kids, like I brought up yesterday.
Declan Doyle is married to a football, as I brought up yesterday. He sleeps with the pigskin. It's in his bed.
That's what I do too. That's why I have this ball in my hand right now.
That's right.
Total malarkey.
So
It just
comforting.
feels better when there's the football right
Yes.
here, the right touch points on the ball so you don't fumble.
Right. Ingrain it.
All right.
All night long.
Total malarkey, $5. All right, Bears, you done good so far. Now I only want to see O and D line for the first 3 rounds. Build from the trenches. You already have skill guys. Speaking of that, whoever that hires the offensive line coach, which we haven't brought up yet, that's important. Garode.
Yeah, we need an offensive line coach.
A
good one.
Maybe Ben wants to groom Doyle to take over play calling in a few years so he can focus on being the head coach, or is that too much going forward? Too much forward planning for the Bears. I don't know if that's necessary. Like, Sean McVay doesn't give that up. Kyle Shanahan doesn't give that up. I don't think Kevin O'Connell's going to be giving that up. Hopefully, Ben Johnson, if the hire works out, it's going to be because Ben Johnson can do both, and he doesn't need to have somebody handle the play calling for him. Brian Dable bouncing back and forth between the two of those would be an example of where that's been dicey. How I Met Your Mother, 5 pounds sterling. An established OC is unlikely to take the job with Ben calling plays. How does Ben see the OC role versus the classic OC definition? I think we've kind of touched on that.
Thank you, How I Met Your Mother.
Appreciate the super, though. Ivan Spells, $5. Are we putting too much on this? The last 2 coaches had no clue and no vision. Nagy called plays for 6 weeks. Reed took it back. Then the Bears hired him. Well, that's why we were praising the Ben Johnson hire last week. Because, yeah, hopefully you're right about that. Yoshino, $10. Great coaching coverage these past few weeks. Was curious if you guys heard that Al Harris has already had Tyreek Stevenson working his ass off this offseason.
It's a big offseason for Tyreek. And if the Bears can actually get Tyreek moving in a positive direction, they could have – I mean, I think everybody would agree they could have a hell of a player there. But
So what I think he's referring to here is Al Harris recommended that Tyreek Stevenson work with the Pete Houlihan Performance Unit. And Houlihan's worked with players such as Brock Bowers and Brian Thomas Jr. in recent years here. So there's some results there.
Yeah. I mean, I love it.
yeah. I mean, look, dude competed against Bears for 8 years. Sorry, I'm in
that is just. I'm sorry. That is a 100% me. Just going through too many Bears off seasons, being like, I remember when Mitch Trubisky started working with, I think it was Spear in Vernon Hills, which is a great place. I live up there. Did it fix anything?
No, but Tyreek. Listen, Tyreek just needs to focus.
That's my point. Where Tyreek's working out is not.
Yeah.
But like, I need him to be more disciplined on the field. That's what I need.
I would also speculate that, and this is probably unfair, but I'm gonna guess that as a young man, Tyreek's habits probably off the field as far as his diet and his workout and all these things. I bet there's another level for him, and that's what he's leaning into, and that's a good thing for the Bears.
I think all NFL players go through that.
No doubt. I
think Caleb's going through some of that.
Fair point.
Cornelius Pryor, $5. Hopefully we don't ever get to the point where Ben Johnson's play calling is so bad that we have to switch play callers like it's happened in the past. Yeah, that goes to what I was talking about a few minutes ago. If we're going down that road.
We better not go down that road, Cornelius. Then we got a big problem. Thanks, Cornelius.
Jonathan Otten, $10, our draft party expert. I am very excited about the draft guide as much as the draft itself. Hoge, I am apologizing for asking about the draft party tickets. I can tell the bit has run its course, and I'll be patient. It has not run its course. I love it.
It will never run its course. Come on,
You
Jonathan.
I think you should ask every day. This is Greg's fault. Greg has more say over the draft party than I do, so I'm going to blame him.
And the fact of the matter is that Greg Braggs runs this organization, and any complaints that's going on around here should be directed to Greg Braggs and Greg Braggs' Twitter and also any of his YouTube pages where he's very productive all the time because he's Greg Braggs, and he's always raising the bar, and he's not stopping.
And for the record, Greg actually is legitimately sick. That's why he's not here today. As fun as it was for Carm to speculate on his football party last night.
I don't know why that's funny the way you said that, but he is. He's legitimately sick. He's a sick individual.
Well, here's how I know.
He's a sick, disturbed
You know
individual.
how I know he's legitimately sick?
Because he would never want to miss a show ever?
Yes. If he was hungover, he'd be sitting right here.
That's true. With no voice. And we've tried to have him not do shows when he has no voice and has had drinks. And there's no stopping that man. Right. But today,
he is actually sick.
Yeah. He did text me during the show. I could help with stuff. I've been posting on social, but I can cut some clips if you need.
Yeah. I'm assuming Greg was the one that tweeted out the show link because Carm didn't do it.
I tweeted the show link, and he didn't like the show, and so he tweeted a different one.
Is that really what happened?
Yes, that did happen. I apologize for my show link tweet. It was not a good tweet, apparently. It was bad. It was a bad tweet. Too much information was in the tweet. This is a better tweet. Braggs wins, Carm loses. Shout out Braggs.
Wow.
Listen. I said my 2025.
5, 4, 3, 2. Greg already just cut that. What you just said. And posted it on Twitter.
I said that 2025 that I was going to be that guy's best friend every single day, and that's what I'm setting out to do. I love Greg Braggs, and I can't wait to swim in his pool if he'll have me.
Quentin Helms, $5. All the people hating on the staff because of Declan, I think, need a reminder of Flus's first staff. This staff is way superior.
That's your sweet bippy, Quentin.
Yeah.
You're on it.
Zachary Hilborn, $2. Give me Mahomes 10 out of 10 times. He's MJ.
There's only one MJ, Zachary. Don't do that. But he can be MJ light.
Don't yell at Zachary.
I'm yelling at Zachary. Don't ever Jordan anyone.
Pizzatola, $2. Here's some couch change to say Steven rules.
Thanks, Pizzatola.
Whoa.
Take that, Carm.
What if Steven is Pizzatola?
Ooh, undercover?
I wouldn't have paid money for that. I just would have put it on screen.
That's true. Steven's way too cheap to do that.
Wow. You know what? We're going to do this right now, then. You just called me cheap. We went to dinner the one night.
You just touched it.
Only one person
I've never
paid
seen
me.
Steven react like
Only one person paid me for that. Hoge, you're the one.
Whoa.
Wait, which dinner was this?
This was Black Barrel Tavern.
Whoa.
Wow.
You definitely said to me, Carm, you got that other dinner, so don't give me money. That had to have happened. I would never have done that to you. And by the way, when that definitely happened. And by the way, Steven, just so you know this, me calling anybody cheap is a compliment. I respect people. You're practical. You're a practical guy.
Okay.
That's what I meant. My bad.
My bad too.
I don't like being called. I don't like being called cheap
said.
either. I call because I'm not, and neither are you. But practical. You're a practical super chatter. We appreciate our non-practicals.
Cleveland Bowman Jr., $5.
Thank you, Hoge.
Do you think the Ben Johnson deal was made last year?
No.
I don't.
But to that point, Cleveland Bowman Jr., he was adamant that he was not ready to take a job last year. But I still wonder if the Bears had moved on, if he would have.
He said no. He answered that question.
I know he did. You believe him? Because he's always wanted to be here. I mean, it's kind of pointless because
I don't know. He's the Bears head coach. The Bears are going to the Super Bowl. That's all that matters.
Bears.
Spencer Swartz, $10. I may have missed that you said this, but couldn't we be more positive about the Bears doing the unconventional with Doyle? This is different. Doing the same will get us the same.
We said that in some way, shape, or form, Spencer. I'm leaning in. This is the best hire in the history of offensive coordinators. They went for the home run here, too.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm good.
You're good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good. We're talking in circles on Declan Doyle.
Well, I see in that last thing that he was reported as Ditka's nephew. I don't think that's an accurate thing, but maybe he is deep down somewhere.
Wasn't that?
Yeah, I looked this up during the show. I did see that in some articles, but I would not call those articles credible enough for me to confirm that.
Wait, but didn't this happen last night where he didn't have a Wikipedia page and all of a sudden he did, and that was in the Wikipedia page?
Yes,
I think that was a bit that whoever wrote the Wikipedia page did. You're telling me some media outlets ran with it?
Media outlets is a stretch, but yeah.
Okay.
We'll talk after the show.
Braggs in the stands reported it? I'm kidding. Braggs in the stands, $2. You can come to my pool. Listen. You know who had it.
By the way, nephew doesn't even add up
at all. Shout out Ditka. Oh, wow. Crystal saying that ESPN.
It wasn't who I was talking about for what it's worth.
I don't know. I didn't see anything.
Yeah, there's a lot of rules over there. Maybe that should be a rule, too. A lot of rules. Okay. On that note, we will be back tomorrow. Danny Mac, speaking of rules, will be here on Wednesday. Looking forward to that. And
at some point this week, we'll get into some draft conversation. East-West Shrine game going on. Senior Bowl. We'll have Fran on.
Carm Graphs tomorrow.
Yeah. Do not miss tomorrow's show.
Carm Graphs.
We got Carm's Graphs.
I'm excited for Carm's Graphs.
If anybody's interested in sponsoring that segment, you have 23 hours. Come sponsor Carm's Graphs.
Grace is saying that the diehard form will not allow sign up. Patrick Dorn, you're going to get right on that. So Grace, just be patient. Whatever's going on there, we will fix it. And
we were told that 34 people signed up to be diehards today. So
yeah.
And we will end with Pizzatola. He gets the final word. Hoge and his intern is CHGO at its best. I was actually his intern.
He was my intern there, Pizzatola.
It was 16 years ago, but almost 17.
And listen, that's why to the whole point of this whole thing, you got to hire who you know. And Hoge knew all of my warts, and somehow he was still comfortable enough.
I don't know if I want credit for that.
Yeah.
I do want credit for Steven being our producer, though. I thank him very much. Hope Greg feels better.
Me too.
Gregory. We got a big week of shows coming up. We're only a week away from being in New Orleans, and we will keep all of this rolling as we always do. CHGO Bears Podcast never sleeps. Just like Declan Doyle. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.